if these negotiations fail, obviously the Israelis will be pushing for some kind of a military, confrontation with Iran, and I think the Americans will follow suit as well in the event that Iran refuses to cooperate in a meaningful way. And that is precisely the threat of that, which has become much more serious now. You know, these negotiations, that is the first negotiations that are going to be held in Oman on Saturday, they will more or less be a meeting of trying to sort of assess where each party is standing. I don't think that they're going to get really into the substance of things. But obviously, at the end of the day, what the Americans want, first and foremost, is to be able to remove any threat that may come from the Iranian nuclear program. And of course, that has many shapes. That threat could be diminished in many different ways. But what the Iranians want, obviously, is for economic sanctions to be lifted, economic pressures to be reduced. So I think realistically, that is the kind of thing that they are hopeful that they will get, lifting of American pressures on them being able to sell their oil. There's 20 million barrels of Iranian oil waiting in the high seas to be sold to some customer. And if pressures increase, obviously Iranian exports will be reduced, just as they were at the end of Trump's first term in office. And so what is to be gained for them in terms of the kind of problems that they have is quite significant, even if they go back to the kind of situation that existed back in 2018. Knowing the fact that they are faced with a population that is quite unhappy about the way things are, the worsening economic situation, I think they prefer to reach an agreement. And I think that they have already decided in their mind that in the final analysis, they will be willing to give the kind of guarantees that the Americans want, that the Iranian nuclear threat is verifiably set aside for at least a number of years. Iran not being able to have missiles with 2,000-kilometer range does not prevent Iran from having missiles with 1,000-kilometer range, which means that in the event of any, you might say, war that gets out of hand, Iran could hurt Saudi Arabia and other oil-producing countries in the region if they wanted to attack their soft targets and so on, which is equally important for America in the absence of a nuclear Iran. So obviously, the Iranians don't like the Libyan model. Look what happened to Gaddafi. I mean, that's the first thing that on any Iranian's mind, of the Islamic regime. They are not going to be committing suicide. And even accepting to consider a scenario of that nature is very harmful to their, domestic constituencies. So that is out of the question. But the crux of the matter, what is it that the Israelis want in the final analysis? They want to diminish the threat of a nuclear Iran being able to pose a threat to their security and the means of delivering those nuclear weapons to targets in Israel. And that is something that can be addressed without, trying to used the Libyan model as an example,